Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. Today I am going to put together two different types of corsages, and I thought that I would give you a tutorial on how I'm going to do that. So I am going to talk while you're looking at my hands. So watch as I put together these corsages. If you have any questions, you can drop those questions in the comments below. So I am going to start out with some floral adhesive glue. So this is just by Oasis brand, and it is just a tube of cold glue. Now, when we're working with corsages, we work with cold glue. It holds so much better. It bonds really, really well. You don't have any issues with the flowers falling apart, and it's not going to damage the flowers. So we use cold glue. And so I want to show you this little hole. I just took my floral knife and I made a little tiny hole in my box. I know this sounds silly, but I like to take the lid of my glue and push it into that little hole. Now what that does is it keeps me from losing the lid to my glue because it's so easy to lose. So that's my handy dandy trick of keeping up with my lid. So I'm going to start out. I'm going to do two different corsages, and they're pretty different. So the first corsage, I'm going to start out by adding cold glue to my wristlet. So this is just a traditional wristlet that we use for wrist corsages, and it has this metal disc on it. So I'm going to actually make two different types of wrist corsages, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to lay this flat, and I'm going to take my Oasis glue, and I'm just going to add a line of glue there. I'm going to let that sit for just a minute, and I am going to go ahead and tie my bow for this corsage. So I'm just taking, this is, I believe it's number 3 satin ribbon, and I'm going to take it and make a little loopy bow out of my ribbon. So this is just floral satin that we use for bows and for plants, for funeral work, for corsages and such. So I am just going to make just a loopy bow for this corsage. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut that ribbon, and then I am going to take a piece of my wire, if I can get it picked up. I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm going to tie off this bow. I'm going to tie that tightly. Okay, and then I am going to go ahead and trim that wire, and I'm going to fluff that little bow. Okay, so there's our bow. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it on top of that cold glue, and I'm just going to press it right there in place. And it takes a few minutes for it to bond. So don't get in too much of a hurry, because it is going to take a few minutes for it to bond, okay? This is just one of those things that it just takes a few minutes, okay? So I'm going to leave that there. Okay, so we're going to use white roses for this corsage. So we've got some sweet little white rose buds. These are called spray roses, and you see how it's got several little blooms on one stem. So what we're going to do is we are going to take those buds, and I'm only going to use about 3 heads for this corsage, and then maybe a couple of these little buds, little tiny buds. Okay, I'm going to stick these back in the water so that they will stay fresh. I'm going to go ahead and take, you see how I have the back of the rose there. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to trim it off to kind of flatten it out just a little bit, okay? Just right there. I'm going to take my floral adhesive glue, and I am just going to add a little bit to the back of that rose. And I'm just going to let it sit here for just a minute. I know that seems strange, but it takes just a few minutes for it to become tacky. So I'm just going to add a little glue to each of those. and just let that become tacky, okay? And then we will pick that rose up, and I'm gonna add one to the center. And I'm gonna take the next one and kind of add it to the side over here. And then the third one, I'm gonna add it to the opposite side, just like that. So really very simple. And then I'm gonna take my little rosebuds, and it's gonna take a while, so don't pick up and be rough with this corsage, because it takes a little bit for it to set. I just added a little glue to my rosebud, and I'm just gonna tuck him right into that bow. Now, if you don't like bows, you do not have to use all this ribbon. For this one, we sold it with ribbon. You can make these very simple without a bow. So there is our flowers in place, okay? Very simple. Next, we're gonna come in with just a little bit of foliage. So my foliage that we chose is a little bit of seeded eucalyptus. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take these leaves and I'm gonna go ahead and cut them off of my stem. And then I'm going to take a few of these berries, and we're going to use those nestled down in. Okay, so you're going to take that leaf, and you're going to add a little glue to your leaf, just like that. Just a little dab of glue. And then you're going to lift up and tuck that leaf right down into that ribbon. And you'll just keep layering, just keep nestling those leaves wherever you'd like them to be. You just want to make sure that you're going to cover up the base of that that's holding those flowers. So just be sure that that little silver piece is covered. And I'm just adding just a little dollop. It doesn't take a whole lot. Lift it up and tuck it in. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same with my little berries. I'm going to just take these little berries. I'm just going to add a touch of glue. Just be careful. You really don't want it to drip on your work surface because it's hard to get up. And I'm just nestling those berries right down in there just as if they're a filler. Kind of a filler flower. And it just takes just a little dab of that glue. And just nestle it in. Okay, so there is our little wrist corsage that is in the ribbon. Okay, so simple, so easy. Now we're gonna leave this here and let it dry, okay? I'm gonna leave it here. Okay, so here comes the second corsage that we're gonna make. And it is a bit different. Now we are actually going to make it with wire and tape. So I'm going to take my florist wire. So this is about 26 gauge wire. It's really tiny, but it's the wire that I prefer to work with when making corsages. So I just took my scissors and I cut it in half. And I'm going to lay those down. Now, I'm also going to use a wristlet, but we're going to use it a little different. I'm going to show you how that works. We're going to set that to the side. We are going to start off by making our little tiny bow. Now, this is out of a peachy color ribbon, very soft peach colored ribbon. We're going to make our bow exactly like we made that bow, maybe a little smaller. So I'm just going to take and make a loop, twist, a loop, twist. We're going to do about 3 loops on each side. So basically the exact bow, okay? There's our bow. I'm going to take a little piece of wire and I'm going to tie that bow, and then I'm going to fluff it, okay? And what I mean by fluffing is just kind of pulling those loops out to make it pretty. Okay, so there's a little bow. Simple, easy little bow. Okay, set that to the side. We are going to use, so this is for a fall wedding. So we are going to use some orange, sweet orange spray roses, okay? I'm gonna use probably 3 of these little roses. So I'm gonna just take, now I'm gonna leave these stems longer. So I'm gonna leave a stem on these roses. I don't know if y'all can see that, but I'm just leaving a stem on these roses. I'm gonna use 2 of these larger blooms. And then over here I have another stem that has a smaller bloom. So I'm gonna take that one. So that's just a smaller bud, okay? And then we're also gonna use some Hypericum berries. And we're going to use some blue thistle, just sweet blue thistle. And a little bit of solidago, simple solidago. So we're gonna do a layering technique. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut all my things so they're prepared for this. And with the solidago, I'm just gonna pull off some of these little smaller pieces. Lay those there. Okay. And here's my little berries. So I'm just gonna take and pull those little berries right off. Just like that. I'm leaving them on their stem. And that's probably all we're gonna need. I'm gonna set this to the side just in case. Okay, and then we have our little eucalyptus. So we've got this little gun-eye euc. Look, I'm gonna be able to just pull it apart, use these tiny little pieces. Okay, so there is all the things. So we've got eucalyptus, some berries, some solidago, some thistle, and our little roses. Okay, so we're gonna use, this is called corsage tape. It is a paper tape that has been infused with some wax, and so it helps to stick together. I'm going to use a little piece of my wire, and I am going to take my rose. So I want you to see it has a little swollen part right down underneath the flower itself, and I am going to take this wire and press it right down into that calyx. Press it all the way through until you have about half the wire on one side. I don't know if y'all can see that at all. Half the wire is on one side of the stem, half the wire is on the other, and I'm going to bend that wire right down. Okay? So I don't know, but it's bent down, if y'all can see. Does that help? Okay. So I am going to take my corsage tape, and I am going to lay it on that wire. I'm going to pinch it, and I'm going to twist. Pull, twist, pull, twist. Now that pulling motion activates that wax and helps it all stick together. I like to do that twice, but really that's just probably a me thing. Okay, so my stem is taped. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Take my wire, press it right into that calyx, go all the way through to the opposite side, pull that wire down, and there it is. I'm going to take that, I'm going to use my tape again, and I'm going to pinch it and go all the way around that stem. Pinch, pull, twist, pull, twist, pull, and I'm going to do that twice. It's always hard to get right around that calyx, so I like to try that one more time. Okay, there's 2. Let's do 1 more. So we're going to do our little rosebud. Run that wire all the way through that calyx. Pull that down. There it is. Take my tape. Wrap it around that stem. Twist, twist, twist. Okay, so there you have it. So we've got them all wired and taped. Okay, so now we're just going to layer them. Using our tape, we're going to tape it all together. So I'm going to take 1 rosebud and my second rosebud. So you see I've just kind of put them together. I've got them laid together, just like that. And then I'm going to take my 3rd rosebud and tuck it at the top. So we're just kind of staggering them down. So there's our roses. Okay, I've got them held together down here at the stem. And I am going to take my corsage tape and I am going to tape them all together. Now the wonderful part is I can still manipulate those flowers because they're on a wire. So see how you can kind of manipulate them and turn them and twist them. Okay? Next we're going to add our thistle. So I have a larger bloom that I'm going to put down here towards the bottom. And then I have my smaller bloom. I'm going to pull these extra little leaves off. I have my smaller bloom that I'm going to tuck up towards the top. So you just kind of layer it. And then you'll tape again. Take your tape and tape all those stems together. Just twist, 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 twist. Okay? Again, you can always move these roses. You can manipulate it a little bit to make it work. Okay, so there's the thistle and the roses. Next, we're going to come in with some berries. So I'm just going to take those berries and I'm going to lay some right down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to lay this second stem kind of up here in the middle. Just like that. Okay? I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to tape it again. So just know you just have to keep taping. Just tape, tape, tape. Now that's how this flower arrangement stays together, is you are constantly taping it, okay? Okay, so there's the berries, our roses, and our thistle. Next we'll come in with some solidago. So I'm just going to take this little stem of solidago and I'm just stripping it. I'm just stripping off the bottom leaves and blooms. Just strip that right off, okay? And then we're going to layer it until you're happy. So I'm going to lay some back behind. Just layer it until you're happy. Now, this arrangement, this little corsage can be done just as simply as we did the first corsage. But this one is fall, so we're layering a lot of things in there. Okay, next we're going to come in with our eucalyptus. Again, you're just going to strip any bottom leaves off. You're going to take it and just lay it right behind that flower. Just lay it right behind there. And it gets your hands tired, so you can lay it down and walk away for a minute if you want to. It's not going to fall apart because you have taped it. Taped it well, okay? All right. So there is our corsage, our finished corsage. We do have to add our bow, but I'm going to show you how to do that last. Okay, so we're going to attach this corsage to this wristlet. Now let me tell you the reason we did this corsage a little differently than we did this one. With this one, it's only a wrist corsage. It is made specifically to wear on your wrist, okay? With this one, it can be worn either on your wrist or pinned onto your blouse. So it can be worn either way. And so that's why we've left the stem here so it can be pinned onto your blouse. So let me show you how we're gonna attach it to our wristlet. Okay, I am going to take a piece of wire. If I can find one in my handy dandy drawer. Okay, that's not long enough. Okay, so this is 21 gauge wire. I don't know if you can tell, but it's heavier than the last wire. I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to bend it in half. So it kind of looks like a horseshoe. See how it's kind of bent in half? I'm going to lay it right on top of this metal disc. And then I'm going to bend, so the metal disc has tabs, 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs. I'm going to take my tabs and bend them over that wire, okay? And I'm going to do it on both the top, where it's bent over, and on the bottom, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top piece, you can see it there, see that top piece? I am going to bend it over. So it is holding that wire. I don't know if you can see how well you can see that. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to take our handy dandy tape and we are going to tape this bottom piece. So this bottom tab, we're going to tape it right here. I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to wrap that bottom piece, and I'm going to wrap it all the way down that wire. Okay, so this is how we're going to tape this to this stem. That's how this is going to stay on this wristlet. Okay, so I'm going to take this stem and I am going to take my flowers and I am going to lay them right on top of that wristlet. There's the wristlet. See how my stems are laying right on top of each other. Okay, I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to tape them together. And tape it, tape it, tape it. And I'm going to tape it 2 or 3 times. I just want to make sure it's not going to come off. Okay, it's in place. Okay, see how it's taped on. Okay, next we're going to take our bow that's on a little wire, and we're going to lay it right up underneath those flowers. Just nestle it right underneath those flowers. I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to wrap it around that stem. Just wrap it right around. We're going to tape it again, no worries, because we are taping, right? So I wrapped it around that stem. I'm going to take my tape and I am going to, hey Owen, will you please bring me the wire snips? I'm taping that bow into place so it's not going to come off. Okay, and then you're going to fluff your bow, get it where you want it. Thank you, sir. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a long stem here. I'm going to take my wire snips and I'm going to cut that stem off. But I'm leaving enough stem so it can be pinned onto your blouse, just like that. It can be pinned onto your blouse, or you can wear it as a wristlet, just like that. Okay, so there's your wristlet here, and it can be just worn just very simply as a wristlet. It is not going to go anywhere. It's certainly not going to fall apart. You're not going to worry about this one falling apart at all. The nice part is that if you decide to wear it pinned on, you can just hide this little wristlet right behind the corsage and just use the pins. So we will put little pearl pins right into that corsage. I always like to put 2 little pearl pins in a corsage because if you're not careful, the little head will pop off. So it's hard to use a pin if it doesn't have a head. So I always take and add 2 little pearl pins to that corsage so it can be used as a pin-on corsage or a wristlet. Now this corsage, this sweet little white corsage, is only a wristlet. It doesn't have any way to pin a corsage, to pin it onto a blouse. It's only made to be placed on your wrist, just like that. Guys, I hope this tutorial helps. I hope that this gives you an idea of how to make a wrist corsage. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to ask. You can ask in the comments below, or you can certainly send us a message, whatever you'd like to do, and we are happy to walk you through how to make a wrist corsage. Guys, thanks for being here. If you have any questions about how we put these together or any of the things, don't hesitate to holler, and do us a favor and follow us on both Facebook and YouTube. Y'all have a great afternoon, and we'll see you soon.